During the early hours of May 3rd, 1962, David, a farmer in Kempsey in England, couldn't find his wife, Brenda Venables, anywhere in their house, despite the fact that she was present when he fell asleep the previous night. But despite his best efforts, Brenda was nowhere to be found. So who was Brenda Venables? How did she disappear? And was this disappearance intentional of her own accord, or was it something more sinister, like a murder? Mention your thoughts in the comments section below. And welcome back to Mysterious Hook, viewers. My name is Matt, and today we are looking at the 40-year-old cold case of Brenda Venables. So let's walk on the edge of the mystery without any further ado. Our story takes us to the beautiful and the peaceful village called Rushock. Rushock is a village and civil parish in the Wyre Forest district of Worcestershire, England. This is where Brenda lived before she met and married David Venables. Apart from a light industrial estate, Rushock has 58 residential properties and a population of only about 124 people. The church stands on top of a bank and has a panoramic view. A small, peaceful village. Nothing much ever happened here. Kempsey is a village and civil parish in the Malvern Hills district in the county of Worcestershire, bounded by the River Severn to the west and with the A38 main road running through it. It is about 3 miles south of Worcester. The village has a long history, and its name is derived from the Saxon Chemy's Eye, or the island of Chemis. Chemis was a Saxon chief whose island lay between the marshes and the River Severn. One of the roads in Kempsey, Leaf's Lane, is named after another Saxon chief, and this is where Brenda and David started their married life. Kempsey was a calm area consisting mainly of agricultural lands. No one would ever believe that anything violent would take place here, which makes it all the more surprising as to what happened. Brenda Bolton was 23 when she met David, who would later become her husband at a young farmers event in Worcestershire. Both came from rural communities and farming families, so they connected straight away. After that first meeting at Droitwich Winter Gardens, David made time to see her at home in the tiny village of Rushock, while juggling working on his family's pig farm. He would stop in for breakfast at Brenda's house on his way home from trips, taking produce from the farm to the Birmingham wholesale market. They were married in June 1960, before a honeymoon in Jersey. The couple later moved together at Quaking House Farm in Kempsey with the financial help of David's father. There, David farmed pigs, and the pair enjoyed a magnificent view of the surrounding countryside. To outsiders, their life seemed simple yet idyllic. Everything seemed normal as time progressed, but eventually the fateful day arrived. On May 3rd, 1982, Brenda was nowhere to be found. David searched extensively throughout his home and the surrounding areas, but finally filed a missing person report the following day. The village of Kempsey was soon overrun as the search for Brenda got underway. West Mercia police used a helicopter to help aid with the search. Tracker dogs were used to check farm buildings and abandoned properties, but no trace of her was found. There was a lot of speculation, and many things were put forward, but most of them turned out to be just rumors. A lot of people heard rumors that she might be under the M5 motorway, which was being built during her disappearance. The police search lasted 2 or 3 weeks, covering a 4 or 5 mile area around Kempsey, up to the M50 motorway, including David's own 9 acres of land. There was a great deal of police presence in the area, searching everywhere to see if there was anything that would lead to finding Brenda. They cut back all the growth in the ditches to see if there was anything in them, but no traces or evidence was found. After a while, with nothing being found, the case went cold due to no fresh leads for the police to follow. For almost 40 years, Brenda's family was left without a single answer about what happened to her. Vicki Jennings, a friend of the couple, later recounted David not being overly concerned and that he didn't appear to actively partake in the search for his wife. However, David claimed to have had sleepless nights after Brenda went missing. David also told the police that Brenda had been suffering from depression due to a recent bout of the flu. David moved out of his farm in 2014 into a more luxurious house. The new owners of his old property lived there happily until July 2019. Then one day, the new owners wanted their septic tank serviced and cleaned out. When the servicing began, it was a spine-chilling sight for everyone as they discovered a lump of hair, a human skull, a pelvis, and thigh bones. They also found remnants of clothing, including half a pair of knickers, tights, a bra, the remains of some shoes, and a sweater. At the time of the discovery, a search was ongoing just 7 miles away for estate agent Susie Lamplugh, who had disappeared in London. But police found no link between the remains and Miss Lamplugh. It took over a year until detectives announced the bones had formerly been identified as those of Brenda's. David, who was then 88, was charged with the murder of Brenda. The police searched for hours in the garden and the garage. Although the owner moved in recently, he had a lot of stuff with him due to the massive size of the property. Many of the neighbors recalled that the missing Brenda Venables case was the most discussed in their village many years ago. The neighbors always perceived David as the non-interactive, quiet man, but no one expected his silence to hold the details of a gruesome murder. During David's trial, details of his double life were revealed. Investigators discovered that he had been in a long-term on-off relationship with Lorraine Stiles since around 1967, who was his mother's nurse. During the investigation after Brenda's disappearance, in 1984, Lorraine Stiles gave a few statements about David. In those, she said, "He seemed quite composed and suddenly told me his wife had disappeared the night before." Lorraine claimed to be shocked at how calm he was when Brenda disappeared. During police interrogations, David tried to prove his innocence by claiming Fred West, a serial killer, could have been responsible for killing his spouse. But the possibility of Fred killing Brenda and putting her in a septic tank on her own property seemed too unrealistic to the authorities. David's lawyers tried to defend him by claiming that it would be absolute madness for him to have hidden his wife's body so close to their marital home. Although the prosecutors claimed Mr. David as the murderer, defense barrister Timothy Hannum questioned why David would sell his property if he knew his wife's body was in the septic tank. Timothy Hannum also stated David got his septic tank cleaned on more than one occasion. Timothy asked for a fair verdict of not guilty, suggesting that there was not sufficient evidence to convict David, but only assumptions mixed with guesswork and speculation. He also said the possibility of suicide should also be taken into consideration, as the septic tank was the closest to Brenda's house. But there was one major flaw with that claim, as the lid of the septic tank was perfectly concealed, and it was highly unlikely for a suicidal person to put the top back on before dying. David then claimed to have loved his wife Brenda very much, citing how active they were sexually. David even claimed the couple had intimate relations the night before her disappearance. But the court had other evidence, and they pulled up Brenda's psychiatric consultant's reports, which claimed that the couple had not slept together since 1968 and had not shared a bed for 3 years. Considering all these contradictions, the court convicted David of the murder of Brenda. A final plea was made by David's defendants to reduce his sentence, as he was already 88 years old. But the prosecutor rejected the appeal, stating concerns. Prosecutor Michael Burrows, QC, told jurors David wanted Brenda out of the way, as he wanted to resume his long-standing affair with another woman. He also said David knew the septic tank was in a secluded location. It was for him almost the perfect hiding place. And for nearly 40 years it was, as he got away with murder. The family members of Brenda Venables released a statement to the press. The statement said, "We, Brenda's nieces and nephews, are relieved that today, after a wait of 37 years, at last there is justice for Brenda. David Venables can no longer get away with having murdered his wife, the hiding of her body, and all of his deceit, lies, and fabrications.